You're struggling learning a new language and you feel like too dumb for it. I'm here to tell you, no, you're not, and just don't give up. I've been there, and in this video I want to share with you my experience coming from being the worst of my class, struggling with even the basic sentences in English, to right now where I live in a foreign country using English and also French on a daily basis. So to rewind back in the past, to give a better context, I'm Italian and I did all my studies and education in Italy, and in Italy we actually study English as a second language since elementary school. So basically in all my study curricula I've been studying English, but the problem is that the level of the teaching in school, Italian school, is really bad. So you often have Italian teachers that barely speak English, explain the grammar in Italian, so you don't do a lot of practice, and considering that it's usually 1 or 2 hours per week, you don't really do a lot of practice during the lesson. You just hear about the grammar rules, and then you need to study on your own by heart normally a lot of verbs or the grammar. So it's not really a motivating environment, let's say. If we add that I was also not like the most motivated student in general. In middle high school, I actually was in a bilingual class, so basically we had also not only English but also French. And in both of them I was really struggling, at the point that I was really the worst of my class, and both the students but even teachers were mocking me for not being able to translate maybe simple basic phrases. After middle high school in Italy we have 5 years of high school, of which we have 2 initial years that are basically a transition period, and then the last 3 years that are more intense because we study all the subjects that are part of the final exams. So when we graduate high school we have this huge exam that covers a lot of subjects, and the program can span on these last 3 years. So that one is the moment where you really need to focus on studying to pass this exam. We also have different type of high school. The one I chose was Liceo Scientifico, that is basically a scientific oriented high school that prepares you to go to university after that. And also it's kind of difficult because it had Latin as a mandatory language, and also I enrolled in a class that had additional computer science and mathematics classes because that's what I wanted to do, because I realized that I really liked technology, computers, and so that's what I wanted to do after that. So even though I started high school with a bit more motivation to study more, in the first 2 years I was really struggling with Latin and English, and in the second year I also got a letter at the end of the year saying that I was barely enough to pass the class, so bear in mind that I need to study more. So basically they were giving me a free pass for the time that I could pass the class, and I didn't need to repeat the year, but to be careful in the following years, otherwise it's going to impact my curricula. And that one was basically a wake-up call for me, because I started to thinking about my future, and I really wanted to continue with studying computer science engineering because I was really into AI, robotics, and I wanted to learn about these things. But of course I needed to pass all high school with good grades, otherwise would have been impacting my future. At the same time, my parents wanted to invest in my education, so between the second and the third year, during the summer holidays, I went to a summer school for 2 weeks in the UK, precisely in Cheltenham in the Wales. And that one was really a life-changing experience. It was not much about what I learned in terms of grammar and things, but it was more about doing this international experience, be put in a country where they don't speak Italian, so you're forced to speak the language. And maybe I was kind of lucky because I ended up, after a test placement, in a class where the level was basically kind of easy for me. So I was able to understand everything, and I could speak kind of fluently English in that case. So I felt motivated to be actually in a place where I am a good student. So I was not getting anymore that negativity of being, I'm just too dumb for this. We can see that I'm the worst of the class, I cannot do anything. In this case, I found motivation. I could help other students to understand, and in the end was a motivation boost more than anything else. So starting the third year of high school, I was much more motivated, both in learning English but also the other subjects, because my plan was to enter in a specific university that later I did. And one of the requirements was also an English test. So my goal was to pass the certificate for English, the B2 level, for the FCE from Cambridge School. So I had a goal in mind, but what really helped me, apart from finding an inner motivation in study, like I had a specific goal, I was also using English not only for my study and work goals, let's say, but also for my entertainment. In fact, I was using basically English for playing video games. I was watching a lot of movies and TV series in English. I started with Italian subtitles, but later I moved on to having English subtitles. And also I was listening to a lot of music in English. So what changed for me was having English as an entertainment language as well, that brought me in a full immersion with the language, even though I was not living in a foreign country speaking English. And this was really helpful for me to start learning a lot of vocabularies, expressions. Then I combined this not only with the lessons in schools that were still not good enough to just rely on them to learn the language, but I also joined a group class where I could practice speaking a bit with other students. So all of this combined helped me to pass the first try, the first certificate. And that basically was my first big achievement, passing from not being able to translate anything to actually having a certification of B2 level of English. So after that, I just improved my English by continuing with immersion. Since I study computer science, basically English is the main language in technology, and I'm using since then English every day. Basically all my entertainment content is always in English. Mostly I read the news in English. When I do searches on Google, I prefer to search in English because there are many more results compared to Italian. So I believe that unlocking a language like English that is very beneficial for work opportunities, but also for your life in general. And after that, in university, I also passed the IELTS exam because I wanted to prove myself that I could learn enough. And I managed to reach the C1 level with 7.5 score. So that one was my second achievement, let's say. Even though I will talk maybe in another video, I don't think that language certificates are really attesting your fluency in a language, because it really depends what they are testing. But still is a good benchmark to understand where you arrived. And to tell about how I learned the other languages, basically we have French. The reason is that in the end I found work opportunities in France, so I was kind of forced to learn French. Even though at work we speak in English, it's always better to learn the language where you're going to live your life, because actually outside of work, if I have some problem for some bureaucracy or a technician coming at home, all these people speak all in French, so without French I would be completely lost. And in that case, I think it was much easier to start learning French. Now I can kind of carry on conversations normally, even though I'm not perfect at all. I still think I don't have such a high level of French, but I can communicate and I can understand when I'm doing calls even in French. And it was much faster to reach this point because I already did all that hard work of learning in English that I could apply the same in French. Now consider that as a native speaker of Italian, there are many words that are similar in French. It's probably one of the closest languages to Italian, maybe after Spanish. So I don't really have much difficulty when I'm reading a text in French, because indeed many roots of the words are the same, but still there are many nuances of the language that you need to learn. And I think that after learning one language, though, it's much easier to understand how to optimize your learning, both from understanding what you need in terms of grammar to get started, but also as an immersion. I knew that finding content in French that I enjoyed watching, just finding some music playlists that you can regularly listen to, helps you to immerse in the language in a way that you can learn a new vocabularies and expression without actively studying on a book in a context that may be more daunting and boring for you. Now, the fourth language where now I'm putting more effort in learning is Indonesian, and that's because my girlfriend is Indonesian, and to speak with her family I had to learn a bit of Indonesian, and I already managed to sustain some very simple conversation with them. So in this case it was a completely different language, and it helped me both to have some applications where I could practice finding content. There are many movies on Netflix in Indonesian, even though at a very basic level it's difficult to follow up on them. What really pushed me to start talking in Indonesian was when I decided to take some lessons on an online platform called italki. And there, from day one, the teacher expected me to come up with phrases in Indonesian. So after a while that I was learning a lot of words and phrases on Duolingo and other apps, basically I never spoke it. So it was really difficult. In the end, I managed to do at least some small sentences. And the lesson here is that you shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes. The important thing is trying to pass the concept, so even if you're not perfect in doing that, it's okay. In the real world, when you are in a foreign country, everyone is just trying to understand what you're saying. So even if you're not perfectly clear in your grammar, as long as they just want to understand the concept and you just want to pass the concept, everyone will try to do that effort to compensate the lack of grammar or knowledge of the things. And in the end, a language is just a way to communicate. So as long as you manage to pass this concept, everything is fine. And with time, you're going to improve, you're going to learn the phrases, and you're going to make less mistakes. And yes, it's going to take time, but it's feasible. So that's the point of this video. I just want to tell you it is possible. You don't need to be a super smart person to be able to speak a new language. All you need is the right method. So trying to find what works for you, like what content you can consume, immerse into in this language in a way that you can learn without feeling that much struggle of just sitting in front of a book, feeling too dumb because you don't understand the concept. I think that languages are a live thing, so finding content that resonates with you, that you know that you can make the language more alive, like watching movies where you can see people using this language in a context. It can give you this boost and also this confidence in continue learning. So if this video was helpful for you, make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you a lot for watching, and see you in the next video.